research shows that a lead closes 5 times faster if they're referred to you by someone they know and trust. It's human nature to put a great degree of trust in people that come from people that we know. Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's the mayor here, and I'm here at a podcast. As you can see, we have changed our marketing strategy over the last little bit, and we're still doing the 3-minute videos. We're still releasing older ones, newer ones. We're still recycling some of those good ones that were from years in the past, but we're also putting out new content, and we're putting out new blog posts and new roundtable discussions with Kelly and I. And we're also releasing individual podcasts and blogs around specific topics that we think will be beneficial to you and your agency. And as we just released recently, the Apex commercial course, I am super pumped about it. That's been a project of mine, a project of our team. Kelly and I have put together some really cool stuff to help you with your commercial book of business in your agency. And what I want to talk to you about today in this video or podcast, a YouTube video, whatever you're seeing it as, is how to prospect commercial insurance opportunities. For most insurance producers, the thought of prospecting just gives them the heebie-jeebies, or it makes them nervous or scared. And, but let's just face it, if you want to grow your book, you're going to have to prospect. And it doesn't have to be some salesy or gimmicky type of thing of prospecting. It doesn't have to be some cold calling only strategy or any other strategy that is not comfortable to you. You could find different ways that work for you. And you can also incorporate all of the tactics that we talk about in Apex Commercial and make them work for you and your agency. But the way I look at it, before we even get down that road, I want to talk to you about, before you can do that, you've got to have an ideal client and a value proposition for that ideal client so that you can effectively prospect. So what I want to talk to you about in this podcast is doing that very thing. And I'm not talking necessarily about niching, because that's out there and people talk about it a lot. And I think niching is great. In fact, I prefer to work within niching, and I get it. However, I do want to talk about, this ideal client and what that looks like for you. Because again, you can go out there and shoot an arrow at hit whatever target you can, or you can, what is that old saying? Throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. The shotgun approach. I'm trying to think of different analogies that you can use. You can cast a large net and so broad that it makes it difficult. So broad that you don't have really a plan to measure your success. Aiming at a target that you don't hit anything. So I think it's even better to focus on a specific ideal client so that you can focus on their individual needs, listing what's important to them and gain an understanding of what their pain points are, and having a clear understanding of what they want, how you can help them, how you can solve their problems. And think that if you do it, you can develop a repeatable process, a proven strategy. You can even build out specific value props that directly affect your prospects, thus giving them a better chance of saving money or solving their problems or whatever it might be, and you a better chance of closing at a higher clip, right? So I want to dive into some of that a little bit. And I have found that some of the answers to these questions are right underneath your nose, man. I think that I say that not as an insult, but just to say, if you take a look at your current book of business, I think you're going to find a lot of what you're looking for when you open up your own current book of business, whether it's through your AMS or through your CRM system, whatever that may be. Look for common trends within your own book. Look for the classes that have the highest hit ratio. So if you're going into your book, you're trying to decide who your ideal client is. And let's say you want to know what that looks like. Let's open up your book and maybe you can search it by SIC code. You can search it by industry. You can search it by class, whatever it might be. And I think you're going to find once you could filter that and sort through that, you'll see some glaring things will probably jump out at you. And maybe you realize by happenstance, for example, you wrote 35 contractors in the last year. And maybe within that, you look even deeper into that and say, oh, within that, we wrote 22 service contractors, meaning plumbers or HVAC or electrical or whatever it might be. Or you might find that half of those contractors you wrote last year in new business were general contractors, or your entire book of 100 or so contractors was general contractors or a certain class. Maybe it was framers, maybe it was whatever it might be. Maybe you look in your book of business and you see, oh my gosh, I didn't realize. I knew we had a couple, but I didn't know we had that many restaurants on our book of business. I didn't know that we had that many hotels. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you're catching my drift, I'm sure. But I think if you open up your own book of business, you could find those very questions answered. You know, you can also find that certain classes have a higher hit ratio for you by diving into different carriers in that space. And you can find out what carriers have the better hit ratios in that. And so maybe you look at it and you also could see other trends, maybe in the other direction, to say, we've written 5 or 6 restaurants, but they have a bad loss ratio. Or, oh my gosh, I didn't realize over the last 5 years, these restaurants or these hotels or this class of business has taken a rate increase every year for the last 5 years. Maybe we don't want to focus on that class. Or maybe you can look even deeper into your data and see that a certain class of business has cost you a lot of time and effort and energy in activities, in certificates, in endorsements, in phone calls. So again, you could weed out your ideal client as well in that way. So I really think that you can take a deep dive into your current book of business to find those trends that I think will jump off the page at you, and you will see those certain class codes. And you can pinpoint your strategy from there to see what's going to be your best bet. I really think that once you can do that, I think that you can start finding out what your value proposition becomes. Once you do that, then you can find out an approach to how you can solidify that ideal client base. Find out, what do you offer within your agency? What tools do you have at your disposal you can bring to the table to attract more of those clients that you could prospect to? You can look at education resources, look at your technology, look at the training efforts, look at your time, look at any resources that you've got within your agency. What do you provide? And I think once you can do that, then you go even further into that. It's important that you stand out from the crowd, because yeah, once you find out your ideal client, that's cool. Once you identify which carriers will write that ideal client, that's great. And once you've gotten into those different carriers and found out the strengths and weaknesses of those carriers and their appetite guides and what they offer, that's super cool. But then you got to figure out, what do you provide that makes you different from the agency down the road that you're prospecting against, or the incumbent? So you start looking to those things. So I mentioned education. As you look into that education, always remember that you're an expert here in this situation. These clients, they don't have a license. I would almost venture to guarantee that 99% of your book probably doesn't have an insurance license, right? So you've got to position yourself to be that expert early and often. If you get an opportunity while you're prospecting or while you're visiting with that client to show your expertise, to be able to say, let's do a policy review and let's go over some of this. And if that's where your expertise is and coverage is like the back of your hand, use that opportunity there. If your value proposition is that you are very well versed in that industry, maybe not policy language, but maybe in that industry. So going back to restaurants, even with certain stats, certain claim situations, certain things that you can help prevent by educating them on those things, go for that. And you can identify ways to you can exude that or present that education. Maybe it's, like I said, policy reviews. Maybe it's newsletters. Maybe you put out a monthly newsletter to that specific class of business. Maybe it's webinars, podcasts. I know a lot of agencies out there that do podcasts geared for specific ideal clients. Maybe it's trucking, maybe it's restaurants, maybe it's, I don't know, you name it. Maybe it's contractors. But put out the YouTube videos, etc. I just think you got to get creative here. There's lots of different ways there. What do you provide when it comes to resources? Without getting too deep into that, but again, you don't want to ever lead with price. So let's figure out what resources you have that lead to discounts. Maybe you could provide them certain resources at no additional cost to make your underwriters happy, your customers happy. Maybe you could make your agency happy and help you grow your business. It's a win-win. You could do, I don't know, compliance checks. You could do safety trainings. You could do employee handbooks, telematics, so many things that you could provide as a resource to that ideal client or to that prospect that's going to help you. Technology. Use technology to your advantage. What technology? Maybe it's an agency app, a client portal, a website, a chatbot. It could be a lot of different things in there, but find out what that is that you offer that sets you apart or makes you different than the guy down the street, right? So we want to figure that out. And the next thing you might figure out is trainings. Maybe your agency could become the well-versed training for OSHA trainings or for ladder safety or safe lifting or compliance check, whatever it might be, but figure out what those trainings could be that you could offer to your clients at no additional charge. And again, it's a win-win because it makes your underwriters happy, the carriers happy, your agency happy, them happy, they're saving money. It leads to discounts. It's a lot of different things, right? So now that we've identified who the prospect ideal client is for that prospecting, and we know what we're going to bring to the table, now we got to put some action to the equation, right? Now you got to really put some fuel to the fire here. And this is where, now that we've identified that, now that we're on the same page there, now let's get out and find these people. There's lots of different ways there that we do this. And one of the ways we're going to talk about here is one that's going to give everybody the heaves, I'm sure. And maybe you're like me. I feel like I'm a weirdo here when I talk to people about this. And people think I'm strange because I love cold calling. I absolutely love cold calling. So again, step one, once you've identified that, is cold calling. And I feel like people come to me all the time and say, cold calling is old school. Cold calling is not effective anymore. Cold calls are this or that, or I get nervous on cold calls, or it's just, I don't know. It's easy to see that more and more people are doing independent research. They're pursuing online. There's lots of ways to make excuses, but I still feel like cold calling is far from useless. There are so many stats out there that show that cold calling still offers its benefits. It still has a place in our industry. And again, I'm a big believer in relationships, and cold calling helps build those. And so as I was doing some research for the course, I found some cool stats I wanted to share just briefly with you, just to show cold calling is not dead. More than 50% of decision makers prefer to be contacted over the phone. 71% of buyers say they want salespeople to reach out to them when they're researching ways to boost their business. 50% of sales go to the business who makes the first move and reaches out to the buyer. So again, that could be a cold call, it could be a drop-in. And cold calling, according to a survey, has been proven to be 5 to 10 times more effective than cold email marketing. So a lot of people say, yeah, I like to use cold email marketing. And there's ways to make cold emailing work. And it's also real simple. You can type a message, send it out to as many people as you want to that you can at a time. And I'm sure it's effective, and it's a numbers game, but cold calling has proven to be 5 or 10 times more effective. It's important to get their attention in the first 30 seconds. So when I talk to you about cold calling for a minute, I just want to say, again, for me, cold calling is not about selling them right then and there. The cold call is not to walk in and walk out with an application on the first time you meet somebody. If you do that, you're amazing. The point of the cold call is just to get the next appointment. The point of the cold call is to build a relationship. The point of it is to build rapport, to make them feel comfortable with you, not to sell them, not to say, hey, I'm coming in, here's my product, here's the pen, sign the dotted line, we're done. No, gosh, no. That is not what I'm saying. The cold call should be to get that next appointment. I always say get in and out within 5-10 minutes. There's stats that say staying in longer is better, but if you're dropping in or you're cold calling, you're taking up some of their time. So you don't want to settle in for a long call. That's what's going to frustrate and piss them off, for the lack of better words. But if you can get in front of a prospect, a cold call, drop in, whatever it might be, develop a quick rapport and find a way to get them talking about themselves, ask some great questions, and get them comfortable with you, then I think you're going to find a lot more success there, excuse me. And again, that cold call is not to settle in for a while. You want to get in and out and ask the right questions to get them talking. Like, well, how do you do that, Heath? I always start with a genuine compliment. When I walk in, I'm a big, as you can see, I keep saying walk in. I'm a big drop-in guy. I would much rather drop in and call because I feel like it's harder to say no to my face, to this beautiful face, than it is to say no over the phone. It's easy to say no over the phone or to hang up. But if you're there live in person, start with a quick compliment. When I walk in on a business, I look around for a minute and I'm, oh man, what a great space you have here. Or what a great location. Or if I'm looking at the person in front of me, I might see the guy and I might be like, or the lady, whatever it might be, hey, great shirt. Man, that's a cool jacket. Love that sweater. Great necklace, great earrings, cool hair, whatever. Sometimes I'll make a joke of, man, I'm so jealous. Your hair is so great. Or look at all this gray here. I wish I had that great head of hair of yours. Or I don't know, whatever it might be. Find a way to compliment them. Get them thinking, oh, this guy's not, he's not a threat. This guy's just coming in to compliment me. He's coming to talk to me about me. Who doesn't love a good compliment, especially if it's a genuine one? After you compliment them, after you build rapport and trust with them, you want to make sure that you're non-threatening, right? So you want to ask open-ended question to get them talking. How long have you been at this location? How long have you been in the blank business? Let's say you're talking to a contractor, going back to that example earlier. Man, how long have you been in the plumbing business? How long have you been in the HVAC business? How long have you been contractor? How long have you been in a restaurant owner? Tell me a little bit about your business. And then just sit back and shut up. Sit back and be quiet and let them tell you everything you want to know. Once you get them talking about their business, just sit back and enjoy some good follow-up questions. Keep the conversation flowing and try not to get awkward. You know what I mean? So I think that cold calling is a lot simpler than people make it out to be. People think that it has to be a certain way, you have to have certain scripts. Yeah, it helps to have a script. I'm not saying that. But I think the script should be a free-flowing, loose script of state your name, build rapport, have a method of getting the X day to the next appointment, and then get out. You know what I mean? So I think once you get that going, I think you're good. And once you build a big database of X dates, then I think after a while you can back off and maybe do cold calling once a week instead of every day. Or maybe you do it a couple times a month. But I think you should still always be cold calling. Just keep your skills sharp, to keep your pipeline full. Because you ever want to have a dried up pipeline. That is awful. Keep them talking about their business. And once you've done that, and once you've asked them for that X date, however that works, I like a little ninja trick here, to use Kelly's words, ninja trick. I like that. I have found that people just can't help themselves but correct you when you're wrong, right? So when I go in and I'm talking to somebody and they're being a little bit pushy or they're standoffish a little bit, and maybe I haven't gotten the greatest rapport build or something like that, and they're asking me, what are you doing here? How can I help you? Then one of the ninja tricks I use, again, people wanting to correct you, I will say, man, I was just updating our database, and it looks like your insurance renews on, pick a date 90 days from now. So it might be, looks like your insurance renews in October. I'd love to set an appointment to come back and visit with you. Maybe you get specific, October 3rd, and I'd love to come back and visit with you. They're going to either say, they're going to correct you because they can't help it. They're going to say, actually, no, it doesn't renew in October. It actually renews in February. Oh, man, you could always respond with, oh, man, my bad. I guess we need to really update our system here. 9 times out of 10, that works, the old assumptive X date question. You could always just go a direct route and say, hey, man, I was in the area. I wanted to come by and I wanted to call on your business because I want to. And I think it's great to be honest and upfront with people and tell them you want their business. So, again, you could tell them, ask for the X date. And again, I think the cold call method's a great method to getting X dates and to building that pipeline. The next one I would talk to you about is, that's a lot simpler. And most of you are already doing this to this day right now. A lot of you are already doing this, and that is building your book of business through referral partnerships, right? That's pretty simple. Research shows that a lead closes 5 times faster if it's working by somebody they know and trust. If they're referred to you by someone they know and trust. I mean, think about it. It's human nature to put a great degree of trust in people that come from people that we know, right? That was a tongue twister. But if I know Sally and Sally refers me to Johnny, I'm going to be more comfortable to do business with Johnny because I know Sally and Sally's happy, right? What I would say to do is identify some great referral partnerships in your sphere of influence or in your community. And I would say commercial realtors, lenders, bankers, CPAs, financial advisors. Find a list of those and then get 10 or 12 of them that you rely on for your new business and that you rely on to send you business, and then treat them like your client. Just keep going back to that well, keep adding value to them, and keep doing right by them, and they'll keep sending you business. Right? That's got to make sense. So referral partnerships is a great way, and it's a very non-threatening way of growing your book. But I think it starts with having that clear communication. You can't just expect them to send business without you educating them on what you do. I think you gotta let them know exactly what type of clientele. Going back to the beginning of this pod of talking about your ideal client. Let them know what your ideal client is. Let them know details on that. Let them know, like, specifically, I want to work with contractors, specifically HVAC. I want to work with restaurants. If you could refer me restaurants, specifically fast food or specifically Italian restaurants, whatever it might be, specifically sit down, dine in restaurants, whatever that may be, specific about it and educate them about that, what a referral really looks like, a good one looks like to you. Been in business 3 to 5 years, has been in the business 20 years. The owner has great credit. I don't know. Figure it out what that looks like. A good one looks like to you. What do you provide? Again, going back to the things that you add, the value proposition. Let your referral partners know what that looks like. And then lastly, I would say let them know what your process is. Walk your referral partner through that process. That's a big part of prospecting. If you're going to get them to buy in and trust you, then they need to know what the process looks like. So once you send me the referral, Mr. Lender or Mr. Realtor or Mr. CPA, here's what's going to happen next. I have a 5-step process of how I do this, or I have a 10-step. Whatever your process is, educate them on that so they know what to expect and they can educate their clients. Hey, I'm going to send you to John Doe, the insurance agent over here, and this is what's going to happen. He's going to, and they're prepared and they're ready and they know. I really think building your referral network is a great way of building your prospects for commercial insurance. Next, I would say an even easier way for a lot of people to do it, and a fun way, in my opinion, is networking. Getting out there to those Chamber of Commerce events, to those Rotary events, or just those community outreach events that are already going on, and you just show up and get to know people. Go with intent. You got to go with intent, though. You can't just go to just shake hands and kiss babies and high five your friends and walk out the back door, not getting anything out of it. You got to go with the intent of, I'm going to this local event, but I'm going to go with the intent of walking out with 3 prospects or with 3 referral partnerships or with whatever that may be, right? I think that you got to do that. And if you can do that effectively and have a plan for it and know what's up and have a good follow-up plan once you get out of the networking, hey, whether it's email, phone call, text message, hey, it was a pleasure to meet you at the networking event X. And I really would love to visit with you and follow up with you about the conversation we had at the punch bowl or whatever. I think you gotta have a good follow-up process too. Again, it's always all those things, referral partnerships, cold calling, networking, all of these things go into helping you prospect for your commercial insurance. Lastly, I would say social media, right? Everybody's on social media. And I think nowadays social media is more than just stalking your high school friends or stalking your girlfriends from high school or stalking your neighbor down the street or whoever that might be to see what they're up to now, or stalking pictures of somebody's kids. I don't know. I think that social media is a lot more than that. I think that it's also used a lot nowadays to build a good commercial book of business or a good book of business of any kind. But I think if we're talking building commercial insurance by prospecting, I think you got to have a strategy for social media as well. And that's exactly what it comes down to, is a strategy. You can't just get on social media and drop in people's DMs and, hey, can I sell you insurance? Can I sell you insurance? Can I sell you insurance? No, I think there's got to be some intent there. You got to build content, build a brand awareness. I think you've got to get out there and really be intentional with what you put out there about who you are and why they should do business with you. And a lot of times it's more about putting out value than it is gaining prospects, but that's going to come over time. You're going to put out a lot of free resources, free podcasts, or free videos of you on your Facebook or your social media feed, whatever it might be, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. Put out free content out there. Put out information that's going to benefit them on a regular basis. And then again, sit back and watch the phone ring, watch the DMs happen, watch those things happen because you've been intentional. And then once a quarter, once or twice a year, whatever it might be, however often you want to do it, once a month for that matter, put out something where you're intentionally asking for somebody's business. Or then you can slide in someone's DMs once they've seen enough of your content. Then you can say, hey, I just want to talk to you about your insurance. Who handles yours? Whatever it might be, as bold as you want once you've built some credibility. once you've built your referral base, once you have built your content, once you have your ideal client picked and chosen, then you could go down through there. Then social media is that icing on the cake. And it's a free way of prospecting, but you've got to be intentional with that. I really enjoy talking about these things. I enjoy prospecting. I enjoy cold calling. I enjoy all these things. I hope you've been able to hear that in this podcast, in this video. And I hope that you will share this with somebody else. I really hope that you'll take some of this into consideration and build those referral partnerships, build the networking, go to those events, build the content on social, and cold call. Don't neglect the cold calling part of it after you've identified your ideal client. I hope you'll do these things, and I hope you'll take these things to heart. And I hope you'll look up 8 months from now, and you'll be finding me and saying, man, thank you. After watching that podcast, I've built up a killer prospect list. I've got a great X-Date funnel. I've got whatever it might be, and I really appreciate it. And I say that not just for me, but just to help you out, because I believe in what I'm talking about. I believe in the Apex commercial course that we just released. So I hope all this is helping you. I hope that you've gotten a lot out of this, and I hope you'll stay tuned for more marketing content and more material based around this topic. Thanks again, guys, and look forward to hanging out with you again soon.